All right. ETM Hotep, welcome to the Seshew mdw-ntr Netcher. This is Freestyle Fridays, and you're hanging with the Seshew. And we want to welcome you all, those who are watching now, those who will be watching in the archives. Today is Freestyle Friday, and on our Freestyle Fridays, we call it Freestyle Fridays because we freestyle. Straightforward, we freestyle, and by freestyle, we don't use any books. We don't use the sign list. We don't use the dictionaries to get the meanings. So it's basically a fun exercise to test our knowledge of, if we could recall and remember the identity of all the different glyphs or signs, as well as the words and their meanings. And we also look forward to participation. So we have the chat open on YouTube. And we also have our Facebook group, Seshew Medew Netcher Facebook group. So if you have any questions or if you have any recommendations of pictures that we use for Freestyle Fridays, you can always let us know. And you could just chime in on the conversations that we have in the group. There's a lot of information that we discuss in the group. A lot of people bring their own research, some things that they've come across in their studies. Some people have questions and, they need clarification. And then we always build on information dealing with the language as well as the culture of Kemet. All right. So with that being said, before we dive in, we always like to give or recite an offering formula. So I'll pass the mic on over to our sonette, Tonika.
All right, Dua, and yes, I'll go ahead and recite the offering formula, and again, you can recite along, and what we have is the formula written in Sesh Medew Netcher, pardon me, Sesh Medew Netcher on the top, and then the transliteration right here, and then we have the translation, and the part where it says insert name. When we do the recitation, we usually insert the name of the ancestors or Aku, but when you're reciting along, you can insert name of anybody that you know or that has passed along. So without wasting time, I'm just going to go ahead and recite. Hotep dinasu, Weser nepjedu, Netcher a neb abju, df beret heru, ti henket ka apet shes menchet. Ket nebet neferet webet anket Netcher im. Inkani imaku aku makeru. An offering which the king gives Osiris, Lord of Jedu, great God, Lord of Abydos, so that he may give verbal offerings in bread, beer, ox, fowl, alabaster, linen, everything good and pure on which a god lives, for the car of the revered one, the ancestors justified. So I'll pass the mic along to Sebo.
All right, Dua and Iker, excellent. So yeah, that's the offering formula, and we always like to start off our sessions with the offering formula, and we've basically picked that up from Dr. Raketi Amin, who is a 30 year plus veteran of Sesh Medew Netcher and Rodney Kemet, the language. She's a teacher, excellent teacher of Sesh Medew Netcher. She's my formal teacher, and she is definitely championing the effort in order to revitalize the language of Kemet, which is Rodney Kemet, as a living speech community, to develop speech communities. So we look forward to helping her and all the others in that endeavor. All right. So now we can dive in. Before we dive in, like I said, Freestyle Fridays, we select a picture, or we take a picture that people recommend or send to us or post up in our Facebook group. And we use the picture to go through the Tep Hesab, the correct methods for transliterating and translating. The only exception, and why we call it Freestyle Friday, is because we don't use the any books to help us. Now, normally we would use whatever tools we have available to get the job done. But Freestyle Friday is designed for us to have fun and to test our knowledge. So we're basically sharpening our skills, and it allows everyone to kind of chime in, us here on the panel, as well as those that are in the chat. on YouTube. All right. So with that being said, we'll keep our eyes on the chat. And if you have anything to, add to the conversation, and, we'll give you a chance to have some input. So we won't, go over it ourselves and you just sit back and watch. We do want to see participation. So sometimes we'll start off with asking those who are watching live, asking questions and seeing what you all come up with. All right. So for this particular Friday, we had a recommendation. Well, actually, someone emailed me about 4 pictures. And now usually we use pictures that are from actual images of actual temples or the walls of temples or an actual stela, an actual papyrus, or an actual coffin and things. So we prefer to use the actual pictures of these things, whether even if it's a facsimile, but we would like to use actual pictures. But this time is an exception because somebody sent me pictures of a transcription, which means it's not the actual picture of this text. It is a transcription of it. So it means somebody, drew it down or copied it down on paper or in typesetting. But it's okay. Now, the reason why we prefer to use actual pictures is because you have a lot of novelty creations that are floating around on the internet. And by that, I mean novelty creations. People will just take random glyphs and put some things together for the purpose of a beautiful artwork. And it really won't be any message there. It won't be any text to transliterate or translate. It's actually just using the hieroglyphic signs just to make something look good. You see a lot of those floating around. So we don't use those. Though, there's nothing wrong with people doing that, but we don't want to use those as far as exercises in transliterating and translating. It's not it won't make any sense, and it's nothing to translate. So that's the reason why we definitely prefer actual objects, pictures of actual objects. All right. But this is an exception because the person sent it and gave the source from which it came. It's dealing with Ramses. And it was sort of sent as a challenge because a lot of, well, not a lot, I don't want to blow it up or exaggerate it, but there are a few people that are talking, they're doing a lot of talks about the language and whether or not the language have been deciphered, or the signs or the script has been deciphered, or whether we know what the meanings of the different words are, whether it's been translated, and so on and so forth. So this person sent these pictures sort of as a challenge to see if we know what we're talking about, something where along those lines. So, hey, we're the Seshew Medew Netcher, and, we will take a stab at it. No problem. All right. So I just want to kind of give some context to the pictures, and I'll share my screen. But before I do, let me introduce myself. My name is Wajau Mineb Edi Ma'at, and I have other panel people on the panel, members on the panel. I'll be running point, but I will pass the mic, and everyone else can introduce yourselves to the viewers.
ETM Hotel, welcome in peace. Same old Damon Everly on Facebook. Welcome.
Hotep, this is Tonika, and yeah, welcome.
ETM Hotel, welcome in peace, everybody. It's your brother June. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you like the show and leave satisfied. Hotep.
All right, I'm sure we'll have other members joining in shortly. But now the person who sent it, I don't recognize the email, and I'm not sure what their screen name is on Google or Facebook. So I hope they're watching. And if they're not watching live, hope they'll definitely watch the archives. All right. Especially if this is a challenge, got to show up. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, I want to acknowledge everyone who's saying Hoteps and greetings in the chat so far. So ETM Hotep, Brother Sean, Brother Christopher Withers, Strife 777. What else we got? Lisa and Jehuti Ma'at. That's what I see so far. And the Amunta Seti. All right. So ETM Hotep to you all. And all right, so let's go. I got a quick question though. In the chat, Jehuti Ma'at, I see how you highlighted the person's name that you're talking to. If you could kind of let me know how you do that. I've been trying to figure that out for the past 2 days. So you know, if you hear my question, if you can just kind of let me know or let us know, how do you highlight a person on the chat? That's pretty useful so people will know who we're addressing. All right, so while you type that out though, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And please let me know when it's visible.
Two visible.
All right. Okay. So this is the picture that was sent. Now it was a couple of pictures were sent, but I guess the other pictures are the same, from the same scene. It's just sections of it. But this is the bigger picture. And let me see if I can blow it up a little bit. Well, let me see how it looks on YouTube. Also, by the way, if you're those who are watching live, if you click on the cogwheel of the video, you can change the settings of the quality. You could change the quality settings, and I would recommend you change it to 720p for HD. That way the picture quality is nice and clear. Still haven't figured out how I can set the default to be that way, but all right. And Brother Jehuti Ma'at, I'm still looking for that instruction on how to do that. Okay, so this is the picture, and we could pretty much go from this, but there's other pictures that kind of blow it up section by section. Let's see if I can hide this part. Okay, get my cursor back. All right. So now let me just give you all the steps, the Tep Hesab, the correct method, the steps or the methods in which to transliterate and translate. There are 4 main steps that everyone goes through, whether you're expert or a brand new beginner. Everyone has to go through these steps. The first step is to determine the direction in which to read the signs. And the reason why that's even a step is because Sesh Medew Netcher is a writing system that could be written in multiple directions. 4 directions to be exact. They can either be written horizontally, which will be in rows, or vertically, which will be columns. And then it could be written from the right or from the left. So you have rows or columns and then right or left. So those are 4 directions. Sesh Medew Netcher is not written in a circular pattern or diagonal at 45-degree angles or anything of that sort. All right. So because of these options, you first have to determine the direction in which to read the signs for the particular inscription that you're dealing with. So for our case, we're dealing with this picture that you see on the screen. So that would be the first step. The second step would be to identify each and every sign. All right. So like, for example, English speaking people who write in English, such as myself and everybody pretty much that's going to be listening. We learn our ABCs. We learn the alphabet at a very, very young age. So we don't have to spend any time to identify the characters of the English writing system, which is the Latin the Latin script. We don't have to spend time with that because we memorize it at such a young age, and there's only 26 letters. So there's no time spent on identifying the signs. But in our case with Sesh Medew Netcher, we have to spend time identifying the signs because there's so many signs. And over time, as you continue to work at this, you will be able to memorize them. So really step 2 is to identify the signs that you don't already have committed to memory. And by the time anyone sits down to try to attempt to transliterate and translate, there are certain signs that you should automatically have in your memory, and those signs being the monoliterals at the very least. Okay, and there are 24 individual signs in number, but there are 25 counting the different monoliteral representations, because you have the reed leaf twice for that represents the glide, the Y sound. All right, so the reed leaf double will count as another one, bringing it up to 25. All right. Yeah. Another comment. Oh, Brother Kofi, you might have to mute your mic. Okay. And Itim Hotep, Brother Kofi, join us. All right. So that's step 2. Step 3 is to group the signs, the individual signs, group them together into the words that they are all a part of. And then you take those words, and this is where you will look them up in a dictionary. Now, mind you, all of this that I'm saying is dependent upon what you memorize and what you don't. So, for example, and I'll do a comparison with English again. In English, we have the advantage of having our words separated by spaces. So we don't have to figure out the groupings. Okay, so we have it easy. In Sesh Medew Netcher, no such spacings exist. There's no punctuation, there's no commas, there's no spacing, no capitalizations to tell you where a sentence began, no periods and things like that. So these are the things that you have to go that extra step to know and to learn. And also, like in English, there are going to be words that you just know because of our everyday use of the language. We just know and memorize a whole list of words committed to memory and their meanings. But for the words that we don't know, we have dictionaries to look them up. And I'm speaking about English. So if you pick up a newspaper and there's an article written and the author is writing something, you may recognize pretty much 90% of all the words that the author will say. But then there may be some words, big words or specialized words or scientific words that you still have to look up. All right. So no one's expected to memorize the lexical inventory of a particular language. That's why we have dictionaries today. So likewise with Sesh Medew Netcher, there are going to be words that we recognize because we deal with it so much, and then there's going to be words that you still have to look up. And it goes without saying that the more you practice with this, the more words and more signs you'll be able to recognize and know the meanings to. So anyway, that will be step 3. And then step 4 is that you will put all of that together and then come away with a sensible translation. And translation meaning that you're trying to come up with the intended meaning, and then to make it make sense into the target language, which for us will be English. So you're going from Rodney Kemet, which is the source language, and you're bringing the meaning over into the target language, which will be English. So that's step 4. So those are the 4 steps. And Freestyle Friday, we go through those same 4 steps with the exception that we don't use the sign list and we don't use the dictionaries. All right. So there may be some words that we may not know from our memory, but we can definitely find out. So we're going to do our best and jump on in. All right. So hopefully all of that is clear. Now, let's give step 1 to those who are watching live. Remember, step 1 is to determine the direction in which the signs are to be read. So if anyone who's listening now can give us the answer or solve step 1 for us, which direction are these signs to be read? And I know there's a slight delay, so I will wait a little bit. All right. That's what we need to have some music or something. All right, brother Mike Speed, ETM Hotel, brother, son. By the way, the word sin or son means brother. Sonnet or sinnet means sister. So if you hear us say sonnet and sin, that's what we're talking about. We're not trying to son anybody, calling them our son. All right. Okay, but the son Mike Speed said from right to left, and that's correct. But you also have to include whether it's horizontal or vertical as well. So So we have Sun Khalik Allah and Sunat Lisa. Both said right to left, vertical. And that's excellent. All right. So that takes care of step one. Real easy. But okay, so let me ask this question. Well, I guess somebody on the panel. How do we determine the direction in which to read the signs? What clues should we use to do that?
This is Damo. Usually you look at the figures, animals, which way the heads are facing, the bodies, which way the bodies are facing, body parts are facing, animal parts are facing. You usually have something on the row or the column. The crow may be facing, bird may face a certain way, vulture may be facing a certain way. You don't have it up anymore, do you? Let me see. Well, let me pull it up. Yeah, so on the first row, we will go down. And the first thing will pop out right there, stop. You have the bird facing to the right. Below that, you have the animal, looks like a cow, just looking at the figure. Facing to the right. Below that, you have another sitting figure. We know it as mine with the feather. Facing to the right, the bee to the right. So then, therefore, we always say you want to talk to them. You want to go into them. So then, therefore, that's where you get the right to left vertical. And also in the second row, started at the top, you have the duck facing to the right. These are things that just jump out at you. Even though you have some different water ripples and different things on it, you always go to the figures of the animals, and they will normally tell you. Sometimes you have to go down a little bit to even find them, to find which direction they're facing. Like right again inside this canoe, you have one facing toward the right. Yes, right. That you're circling facing towards the right, and there you go. That's another column, and then you go down another. You have another deity facing towards the right. Down again, you have the quail chick facing towards the right. You also have those walking legs. Then you have the horned viper right there facing towards the right. Yep. You have the owl again facing towards the right. Now all these are pretty simple, and it looks like all the column, all the rows, all the columns all the way across go from right to left. Now there will be some times we'll translate some sesh, and you'll have some columns facing from right to left, and you have to pay attention because you'll have some going from left to right. But as long as you're following, like we say, you're talking to them, and you go through and you notice your deities, your animals, your birds, notice which way they're facing, they'll always help you out.
All right. Iker, excellent breakdown. So hope everyone has followed that. That was an excellent breakdown, and nothing left to be said about that. So that takes care of step one. Now to step two. Now, because this inscription has how many columns? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're looking at 12 columns, and we won't have time to do all 12 columns. All right, because we'll be here for a while, and we don't want to run too long. So we can just go through and spot and just randomly pick some of the signs and then identify them for people. So we can start some. Now, I do want to say that, like I said before, by the time that anyone makes an attempt to transliterate or translate a text, there are certain signs that you should have already committed to memory, and those signs being the monoliterals. So we skip the monoliterals because everyone should already know those. And monoliterals being, like the water ripple, the quail chick, open mouth, the leg, the reed leaf, horn viper, all of those should be already committed to memory. All right. And if you haven't done so already, it's fine. It's easy to practice. You can create your own flashcards. We have flashcards that are available on the website that you can order. They're nice and neat. They have the sign on one side and then all the information on the back side. So you can test yourself. You can have someone else test you, and so on. And there's 25 in all. 24 in signs, but there's 25 in number because of the double reed leaf. All right. And and I think I skipped. Okay. So for step 2, I guess we could just kind of spot some of the other ones and identify them. So anybody on the panel, I'll follow with my cursor. If you want to go ahead and just let me know where to point to and identify some of them. So we can identify a few.
I guess we'll start with the third column, I guess, since Damo did the first two. I guess the what is that? The owl.
Okay. Yeah, that would definitely be a monoliteral.
Yeah, that's the monosyllable. That's the letter M. I guess you got the seated deity up under the water ripple in front of the club, the hymn club.
Okay, so you got the club and the seed.
The horn viper below it, which is also, it's a monoliteral also. The club is a biliteral. The face is biliteral. I wish, the three hills and the bread loaf on top of it. I guess that I forgot what that I know that's the sesh plant with the open mouth at the bottom, but it's called something else. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Okay.
But you got the hand up under the water river. Then you got the pool, which is the hand and the pool is monoliteral. The hill at the bottom. The I know that's XA. It's some biliteral. The rated sun is that what they call the rated sun?
Sun coming up.
Yeah, XA. The forearm, which is a monoliteral. The seated deity, the hymn club again, the horn viper, the milk jug up under the horn viper, which is a biliteral, the reed leaf behind it, the sun disk, the coil chick, which is a monoliteral, the foot, which is a monoliteral, and the water ripple under it, which is a water ripple.
All right. So that's good enough. I mean, just give an idea of identifying the signs, and just to kind of add to what you were saying as well. When you say monoliteral, and earlier you said biliteral, monoliteral and biliteral are words that mean are signs that represent either mono or bi, which is mono meaning one, bi meaning two, a single consonant or two consonants. So a monoliteral or uniliteral would be a sign that represents only one consonant, and a biliteral would be a sign that stands for two consonants. And then we also have triliterals at the very top. For example, we have the unk. This unk right here that a lot of people are familiar with is a triliteral. It represents three consonants, but the way that people spell it in English, people spell it in English with the K and the H together. They will spell it A-K-H. I'm sorry, A-N-K-H. But it actually stands for three consonants. It's just that KH consonant that's pronounced with that hard K, like you're clearing your throat, would be spelled out in the Latin script with two letters, the K and the H together. So just so you all know. And I say that because there are some people who will take the unk and they will break it down as if it's an acronym, a four-letter acronym, which when in fact it's only three consonants. There's an A, there's an N, and then there's an X. We transliterate it as an X, but some people will bring that X over into English with a K and an H. So then they will spell it A-N-K-H and then come up with a four-letter acronym to spell out different things. But that's kind of it won't work if you are dealing with the language. So I just wanted to point that out and also define what a triliteral, biliteral, and monoliterals are. All right, so and you can see it here. You can see the same thing over here, and you see it over here. So certain things will start to repeat itself. All right, and you kind of pretty much recognize this, like this sequence here, these three glyphs. You see the same thing right here, and I'm sure you'll probably see it in other places. You see it over here, and so on. All right, so although when you first look at it, it looks kind of intimidating for a beginner, you know, because this is another thing. When we first look at something and we don't know it, it's pretty intimidating because our minds are being bombarded by different items, different things, you know, brand new, fresh. But once we start to work with it, our minds will start to develop patterns, repetition, and to put things into patterns. Same thing with even in English. A person who's totally foreign or have no idea about English, the writing system, how to write English, or you know they're learning English for the first time. If you were to show them a newspaper of a big long paragraph, or open a book and showed it to them, even though our words are spaced apart, their minds would first see individual letters. Whereas somebody who knows English, speaks English, and deals with it every day, we would do it and we don't see letters, we see words. All right. And then some of us, you know, who speed reading, like if anyone you all take a speed reading course or whatever, you pretty much learn phrases and whole sentences. Like you recognize whole sentences and phrases right away, especially prepositional phrases, you know, in the dark, you know, on the highway, you know, these prepositional phrases, your mind groups them together, and that's how you're able to speed read really fast and things. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. So this brings us to step 3, but let me check in with that.
Hey, can I add something to the step 2?
Okay, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Important tool that you can use to help you with this is going to be the sign list. You can find them online. There's one in appendixes of the Introduction to Medew Netcher book. There's also one on the Medew Netcher website. And when you're going through, looking through signs, you want to document everything you find for that sign. The way it'll function, which might be a determinative, logogram, or just give you a phonetic value. You also want to document the transliteration. So yeah, the sign list is going to help you out a lot on this step.
Yep, exactly. Perfect. Now, yeah, that's excellent. And normally we would, but on Freestyle Friday, you know, the rule is we don't use the sign list, or we don't use the dictionaries. All right, so we pretty much covered that. That would be step 2. And like I said, we don't have time to actually identify all of the signs. And again, by this time, anybody sitting down making attempts to transliterate or translate, there are just certain signs that you should have committed to memory already. And all the monoliterals and a lot of the biliterals. Certain signs we just see all the time, you know, and then there's certain formulas. But like I said, as you study, as you put in the work, as you commit the time to study and utilize the inscriptions and things, your mind will start to see these patterns. So remember, it's all about patterns. It's all about patterns. You'll start to recognize words. All right. So that concludes step 2. Now, step 3 is to do exactly what I just said. Step 3 is to take the individual signs and to recognize the words that they are a part of. Now, the biggest tool, I should say, the biggest helping tool for step 3 to parse or differentiate words is what's called determinatives. All right. These are signs that are classifiers that provide the sense or the semantic meaning of a word. All right. And so it's very helpful to memorize a lot of the generic determinatives, because determinatives usually, not 100% of the time, but usually they come at the end of the word. So once you recognize a determinative, then that will clue you in on when one word ends and another word is going to begin. All right, because like I said, in Sesh Medew Netcher, this writing system, there are no punctuations, there's no spacing, there's no commas and periods and things, no capital letters, and so on and so forth. So one of the biggest tools we use are what's called determinatives, and they're called determinatives because they help determine the meanings of words. All right, so that's where they get that name from. All right, so in step 3, that's what you're going to be looking for, and then you would normally utilize a dictionary to look up the words that you don't already have committed to memory. All right, so that will be step 3. So to demonstrate step 3, I guess we, like I said, we won't have time to go through this entire inscription, but I guess we can start, you know, if anyone on the panel see a couple of words that you recognize, just direct me and I'll place my cursor there, and then you can explain the particular word. Well, actually, let me go to the chat and see if anybody. I'm sure, because we have some people, you know, we have some experts in the chat. You know what I mean? So we got Lisa, Aziz, Etim Hotep. To those who I didn't see earlier. Oh yeah, I forgot about that pineal gland. We had brother Salmotep, Etim Hotep, Mac Tip. So let me just ask anyone who's watching in the chat, are there any words that you recognize? And you can direct me, because there's 12 columns on the screen. And as we go through, I have the other pictures to kind of zoom in, but there's 12 columns. Let me know the column number, and then just go ahead and let us know what word you recognize. Okay, I appreciate that, Judy, about highlighting the person. So, all right, while we wait for some others to do it, anybody on the panel see any words? Well, okay, I'll tell you what, because we're on Freestyle Friday and we're not using the books, we have to kind of combine step 3 and step 4. Step 4 is to come away with a translation, sensible translation, and step 3 is to group the signs together in the words and then identify the meaning of the words. So those 2 steps are kind of combined for what we do. So anybody on the panel, you can kind of chime in and identify some of the words. And let me know, because let me show you all the other pictures. This is the full picture that was sent to me. All right. And this is a clearer version of the first part of it. So I guess these are the first couple of columns, and it's a bit clearer. So I will stay here for a while. I'll come back to this. And that's the next section and the last section. So we have some clearer pictures than the full picture here. So I'll stay on this one for now, and maybe I could zoom in a little bit, and we could start this first column. Now, this was sent as sort of like a challenge. So I hope the person who sent this to me, I don't recognize the email. It was sent by email, so I don't know what their username is or their Facebook name is either. So I hope they're watching. You know, we enjoy healthy challenges because it helps us to, you know, inspires us to dig in and learn. But this happened to be a Freestyle Friday, so. All right, so I'll do the first column. All right, so because I'm pretty familiar with all of these words here. So the first column starts off. If y'all can still see my cursor?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do the first column. So here we have Hetsep 5. So we see 5 single stroke. We have Hetsep. Hetsep is different than Renepet. The word Hetsep and Renepet are very similar. Renepet will be the word years, and Hetsep is also the word years, but the difference is that Renepet is a duration of years, whereas Hetsep would be a particular year. So in other words, if I say that I've been doing something for 10 years, I would use the word Renpet or Renetpet because I'm talking about a duration of 10 years. But if I say in my 10th year, I graduated, I would use the word Hetsep. Okay, so this is what we're looking at, Hetsep 5. So this is the 5th year, okay, or year 5. Then we have Abed Compt, which is 3, the 3rd month, and then Ni, which is of, Shemu, which is the season. So you have the season of summer or harvest, Shemu. So we had Hetsep 5 or Fidu, Abed Compt 3, Ni Shemu. All right. Then we have Su 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Su 9. So the 9th day. This word Su is different than the day Heru. We have 2 words for day. One is Heru and one is Su. The difference is that Heru is used, most of the time it's used literally for the daytime when the sun is shining. Whereas Su is more so used how we use the word day today as well, where it's talking about a 24-hour period. You know, that whole cycle, whether it's day or night, that particular day. So it's the 9th day, not literally the 9th sunlight time. So there's another word. So we have Heru and Gare. Gare means night or darkness, and Heru means light or daytime. Whereas Su means that 24-hour cycle, basically, all right? So that's the difference. So we have Su 9. And then we have Her, which means before or under. And then we have Hem, which is majesty. Okay, so under the majesty of, and then we have Ni, which is of, and then we have Heru, Kaneket, Merimat. And this is the name. So this sign here, this long rectangle, is basically a stylized version. Now, if you were to see this card, there would be more details in here, but this is obviously a transcribe. Someone redrew this from the walls, so they didn't include much of the detail. But this is what's called a sarek. All right, and a sarek usually houses the Heru name. And as most of us may know by now, that most of the kings had 5 names, especially from the I believe the 5th dynasty onward. Kings had 5 names. That's called the titulary, the 5 different titles. All right, so this is the first, this is the one. So Heru, Kaneket, Meri, Ma'at. And then we have Nisud Biti, Weser, Ma'at, Ra, Satepen Ra. And then we have Sarah. Now, this is another one of the names, one of the 5 names as well. So this is the throne name, Nisud Biti. And I'm just going to go on a little bit, even though I said I'm just going to stop at the first column. Let me go to the next because we have another name here. So then we have Sarah, which is the son of Ra. And then we have Ram or Ra, Mes, Ses, and then Mirdi, Amen. Ramesses, Mirdi, Amen. So Ra gave birth to him, beloved of Amen, will be the name there. All right. So we're identifying a person. And this is a common formula. Whenever you're dealing with dates, especially when major events taking place in the history of Kemet, you'll see this on various different stelae or even the temple walls where this came from. You'll see the date that something took place. So this is why we use Hetsep instead of Renepet. All right. So in the 5th year of the 3rd month of the season of Shemu, on the 9th day, under the majesty of, and then we have Kaneket Meri Ma'at, Nisud Biti, Weser Ma'at Ra Satepen Ra, Sarah Ramesses Meri Amen. So that's a long intro. It's a long intro to this text. So I just wanted to go over that so somebody could pick up where I left off and I mean, you don't have to identify everything, but you know, we can just go over and identify anything that you see, but we can at least keep it going from the second column. Let's go over to the third and so on.
All right. I don't know this first word, but keeping in mind that they wrote in quadrants, I would group these next three together. Read the folded cloth and raised bread loaf. A set. Yeah, I don't have a translation on that. Next, I see him, transliterated, what's that, capital HM, with the seated deity determinative, and then horn viper underneath that. So it'd be him, F, capital HM dot F for his majesty.
Mm-hmm.
The next two signs I will group together. We have capital HR for hair. That means upon, I think.
Yep.
The next, let's see, we got the jaw, capital D, capital A, and then we have the enclosure, which is H with the two strokes underneath, which gives us the transliteration of Y. I think the three hills would be the determinative on that. We have Jahi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure a translation on that one either. The next sign we have is a half. I think it's called a half, and that gives us the transliteration of M,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this next sign, I've seen it before, but I can't remember what it is. Besides that, we have the two legs, walking legs, which is usually determinative for motion or something.
Mm-hmm. Two.
And then we have a the quail chick, garnet code G43, and then the raised bread loaf again. So I'm not sure I would need help with that one. Eut, maybe or something. Underneath that, we have another raised bread loaf. And then the horn viper, Tef. I'm not sure on the transliteration on that or translation on that one either.
Mm-hmm. Now, just to pause you for a second. So, like, I know just for those listening, this is the moments like when you would go through this and put a question mark because this is where you would need the books. But because we're freestyling, then, we're just going to put a question mark there. Unless someone else, once you're done, let somebody else on the panel does know. And that's where you come into, teamwork or the group effort where we can kind of pick each other's brains on what these words mean without going to the books. But then by the end, before we end this session, this hangout, anything that we didn't have in our memory, then we'll crack open the book so we can complete it, or at least what we covered. So, just want to let that be known.
Okay, well, I was just sounding them out. I got the bread loaf, the horn viper, the two strokes, the new bowl, and another raised bread loaf. It looks like it says Tefi Newt. Tefi Newt.
Okay. Well, that's a possibility. So we'll just put a question mark there.
Yeah. And then another water ripple, garden code N35, with another raised bread loaf underneath that.
Now, let me ask you, can you see, like when I square it off like this, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's good. All right. I didn't think you all could see that. Okay, good. All right. So it kind of shows the quadrant. And this is a different word from quadrant, the the scribes, I believe June, you already said this, the scribes, for aesthetic purposes, they wrote into these imaginary quadrats, which were either rectangles or squares. So yeah, so I'm glad you all can see it. So I'm going to try to keep following you, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, under that is another water ripple with the branch underneath that, and then we have the the determinative with the arm holding something. So we have neket, we have the water ripple, the branch, the placenta, and then to the left of the placenta is the raised bread loaf again. Neket, I know that. I think that means like strong or something.
Yep.
Okay, underneath that is another sign that I've seen before, but haven't memorized yet. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that is. But behind that we have the eye with the eyelid. So I think that is different than the usual eye we see. But like you were saying earlier, usually we deal with the primaries. This, of course, is remade. So I think that's the eye with the eyelid. Underneath that, we have the owl, which gives us the transliteration M. Behind that, we have a triliteral nefer, transliteration transliterated NFR. That usually means good or beautiful.
All right. So, all right, that's the second column. That's the end of the second column. And I just want to kind of keep my eye on the chat, see if anybody came up with anything. So I'm going to scroll back up a little bit and see what did we miss. So, okay, I see day 9, Sep Renapet okay, Karhem, okay. I see Little Real, all right, Itimotep, Chris. Okay, Aziz has Iset, Hemef, her, correct? And that's what we have so far. All right, good. I'm just, I just want to keep an eye on the chat because, like I said, we like the participation. And it is kind of awkward because, if especially for those who are going to watch this video in the archive, and here I am reading reading the chat and interacting with people in the chat that's not going to be on the video. So be a bit weird. But hey, we do weird things around here. All right, so okay, so that's the end of column 2. So you want to go further? I mean, anybody else want to pick up and do the next column on the panel? We have
I'm MC Iron Lung in training.
yeah, MC Iron. Yeah, and whatever you recognize, not gonna there's no pressure to recognize every single thing because, like I said, we're going off of memory. So anybody that can recognize any of the words in column 3 and let me know, I'll just scroll up and down.
Well, the first 3 signs are a common phrase that we will see often. Ankh, Uja, Seneb. The first sign is the Ankh, transliterated A-N-X, as you said earlier. The second one is Uja, W, capital D, capital A. The last one is the Gardner Code S29, but for the cloth, but it is abbreviation for Seneb, transliterated SNB.
Okay, excellent. And I was going to ask you, but you just said it. That's good. That what we're looking at is an abbreviation instead of it all spelled out. So literally this would be Unk and then just Ja and then S. but like you already explained, that these are shortened forms of a very common phrase. And you'll find that a lot. I mean, we do it to this very day. We call it abbreviations. We'll say acronyms, or we'll say contracted words. Like instead of saying do not, we'll say don't, or we put the apostrophe in place. So that's similar things that we do here. But somebody's got their mic open. You got to Kofi. All right, you want to give a shot a couple of words?
Yeah, I can.
All right.
The bottom, with the up on the phrase jaws and there, I forgot what that sign is, but I know it can be transliterated as M or IM.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom, I know the reed leaf is I, but I can't remember exactly the transliteration for that other tree right there. But I know that's a combination. I know that's gonna go together. That reed leaf and the tree. The M and the house, and I think the house, which is per, I guess that's gonna be the determinative to the word. So is that also I am? Is that whole word also I am?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm familiar with this word. This is ima, and with this there's a determinative.
Yeah, the house is the determinative, and the so the M would be a complement. The I will be a complement.
Mm-hmm. Just like at the bottom, we had the same thing here. This nefer symbol is taking its place. And just to point this out, a lot of times with the birds, you'll have empty space behind them, and sometimes you'll have empty space in front of them. This is for the people who are watching. That space will be filled in with a glyph, and what the scribes will do is what we call today graphic transposition, where they'll place, like for example, you'll see it a lot with the word mut for mother, where you'll have that different vulture, not this vulture right here, but the other vulture. I forgot the technical word name for that vulture, but the other vulture that describes the word mut. But instead of the T coming behind the vulture, because of the way the vulture shape is, it'll be in front. So it look like it's saying T mu instead of mut. But that's because for aesthetic reasons, they would graphically transpose the graphs or the glyphs. And so this is what you see a lot of times with the birds. So we all keep that in mind, and it's something that you'll get used to once you deal with the writing system more and more. So likewise, this per or this enclosed sign here may in fact be transposed this way for aesthetic reasons. All right, so just wanted to kind of let everyone know, like this Sarah. Now this is not transposed, but you see how it's tucked right behind the bird instead of off to the side. All right, but yeah, I'm sorry. You can go ahead. I was just wanting to make sure that was clear.
Okay. The water ripple, I guess that would be knee.
Mm-hmm.
The club, which is him, and that whole him F will go together.
Mm-hmm.
Which is His Majesty, her, face, which is upon. Then you got I don't know if that's, and I don't think that's what it, because I think I get that sign mixed up all the time. That's not the doorbolt right there, is?
No, it looks like a to it, but it's usually when I see that sign, I think of the Nation of Islam.
A bow tie.
Yeah, bow tie.
Yeah. Every time I look at that sign, I always get it mixed up with the doorbolt. But I can't even remember exactly what that is. But
It's a tied knot. It's that's why I say bow tie. It's a tied knot.
but yeah, I can't remember what the transliteration will be
I think it's S. It's S something.
Search.
I think.
No, it's chess, I think.
what?
You're getting a lot of feedback from your mic, Tonica.
But
Let me know if you're still getting feedback. Still there?
it's gone. But what did you say, Annette?
Okay. Now I'm saying it's the chess, uppercase T and S.
Uppercase T and S. Okay, test. Okay, so that'd be
Chess set.
yeah.
Chess. Yeah.
Okay.
Chess set.
Just said I don't know the translation to that. The bottom is that rest? I know that's all gonna go together. The says plant to open mouth, diagonal stroke, and I can't think it. I already know that sign always be associated with the land with Ta. Rest, some dealing with the south or something.
Tiu, Resi.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then knee, the end up under it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, stroll up a little bit further. I can't see it due to the icon. Okay. D. Ooh. Nah, I don't know what that was gonna be because I can't remember the first sign that first sign right there. But I know behind it that's D capital S.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm gonna pause you right here. That first sign. Now we should all be familiar with that because this is the sign that is used. It's a bilateral for the word ked. QD, and it means nature. I mean, by itself, not in this particular word, but in and of itself, it means the nature of something or the character of something. It also means to build. It's another word that uses the same graph or the same sign that means to build as well. So this is the word. This is a sign that we use when we say good character, building good character, and things like that. So it's the word kid.
Okay. So when you say it's Q lowercase d?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That it surely will be because of the hand behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Qadesh.
Yeah, as I was about to say, this is a famous place that a lot of people know. Hebrew Israelites would definitely know about this one.
Yeah, Qadesh.
Cadet.
Yep.
Yeah. X the rated sun, which is XA, which is what that will be what in the presence of.
Well, Kai, the appearance.
Yeah, in the appearance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the appearance, what is that? I mean, X capital A would and it's transliteration. No, I mean X lowercase X lowercase A.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be, and that's how it was grouped. The rated sun, the on, which was is a complement, and papyrus roll. Then you got him again. You got the club, which is HM, and the seated deity him F, which is majesty, his majesty. The water jug and the reed leaf, which is me. MI, which is like.
Mm-hmm.
Now that one there. Like, okay, is that like? I mean, I know we see that like Ra, me Ra. So, but that's throwing me off, and I'm not saying that's me Ra, but normally when you would see that, you would see me Ra with me Ra like Ra, but I see the quail chick, the foot right there. So that's kind of throwing web right there. So, but the sun disk is in the middle, so that's throwing me off right there. So it is webbing.
It's rock. Yeah, it's rock because they excuse me. The quail chicken foot is a lot taller than that Ra symbol, so you know them gonna go together, but it's gonna be me Ra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like Ra then. Like Ra and then webbing at the bottom. WBN. WBN or transliterated WEBEN, webbing.
All right, so let's pause. Let's stop right there, and let's make sense of what we have so far from the first going over to this part. Because remember, like I said, we're combining step 3 and step 4. So basically, what you have just done was to take the individual signs and kind of group them together. You recognize the determinatives. Like, for example, you know that this is a determinative right here. So this is going to be the end of a word, which is why I blocked it off in the quadrant. We have Kodesh. So we know this is a place. And as soon as that goes away. Okay. And then we have this is another determinative. These determinatives look alike. So you can see how this would designate a place. Okay. So usually when we say place, we're talking about toponyms or you know, geographical locations, aka toponyms and things. So sometimes we may not know the meaning of the toponym itself, but the fact that we know it's a toponym will be sufficient for us to be able to get the meaning, the intended meaning of the inscription, you know, the context that's around it and things like that. So just so everyone would know. And likewise with names, let me go back to the names. Names inside of the Shenu or the cartouche that people are familiar with, or even the Sorek that you see here. Names are heavily abbreviated and there's a lot of transposition going on. Sometimes it's graphic transposition, sometimes it's honorific, what they call honorific transposition. So names can get a little bit confusing, all right, as far as trying to determine what it means. But the fact that you know it is a name can be sufficient for the context of what's going on. All right, you know that it's talking about a person, and then you can continue to read on, even if you don't know what the name means. And it would be no different than today, because a lot of names that we call each other today, like let me ask you, what does Tony mean? You know, we may not know what the word Tony means, but we know that Tony is being used to identify someone. You know, at best we know that it's usually a male name, but you have some females with the name Tony, like Tony Braxton and whatnot. So I guess that wasn't a good example, but the fact that we know that it's a name is sufficient. So I just want to kind of put that out there because, you know, some of the remarks that we get, you know, over time is that people get intimidated about learning this. And it's through this fear and intimidation that people will make up excuses that the language hasn't been deciphered or translated because they feel it's too hard to do it. And we have to really stop that. So this is one of the reasons why we even started this series of Divine Words Wednesday series. We started that back in April, and we've actually done 25 episodes so far. So we had our 25th episode, and then we started Freestyle Fridays, which is what we're doing now, just to show people that, you know, there's nothing special with us. We didn't get teleported in here by aliens, or we don't astral project, or we don't sit outside and let the sun download light beams and particles in our heads so that we could transliterate and translate this stuff. All it takes is discipline and study. You know, the desire to learn, the discipline to stick with it, and the stamina to stick with it, and then, you know, set aside some time and get it done. All right, and that's what we've done. So we're trying to lead by example. All right. So going back, and well, before I move forward, let's see what we have in the chat. I don't want to leave anyway. Let's see what we got. We got okay, we have Resi. I'm just scrolling back up. I see Chasette. Okay, excellent. That's Christopher Withers. Christopher Withers again. Resi. Kodesh. Okay, Kodesh. Yep. Kai Himef. Me Webin. Okay, Aziz, you just left out Me Ra. be rod webbing. And what else? What else? All right, so yeah, good. And it's good. It's good. It's good to see, you know, those people chiming in, participate. All right, so let's go back. So we have, oh, where's my cursor? Lost my cursor. All right, here we go. So let's kind of make sense of what we have so far. You know, come away with a little more fluid translation. All right, so we have the regnal year 5, third month of the season of harvest, day 9, under the majesty of the Heru Kaneket Miri Ma'at Nisudbiti Wasur Ma'at Ra Satepin Ra Sarah Ramesses Miri Amin. Then we have Iset. Now I'm this June had pointed this out. This word right here, this is a word that begins a sentence, but it's more of it's a beginning of a sentence when you're talking about an occurrence of something. Usually you'll find this when some event is taking place in a particular moment in time. All right. And because we're dealing with time in this particular text, this word here is set, carries the meaning of when, the word when, W-H-E-N, when or during. So when Hemeth, which is his majesty, and what happened to my cursor? And then we have her, and I believe June, you already said this upon. And then we have Jahi with this determinative, so we know this is a place, even though we may not know what Jahi means, but we know when it's basically saying when his majesty was upon this location, this place. And then we have M, which is the word in. And then we have this particular word here, his something. Now this word is the word for command. Okay. Now, because of this determinative of the walking legs, this word by itself will be command, but with the determinative for the walking legs, it will kind of shift the meaning. Now, you know, we could look this up to verify, but based on my recollection, this would mean, instead of a command, it would be in terms of a what do you call it? Like an army would march onto something, like an army command, instead of just a command, like an instruction where a king would give instructions. This will be more so instructions to do something, to move about. So it's more like of a military word. Okay. So his command, but not in the sense of command, just saying something, but in terms of being mobile, to mobilize something or someone. And then we have Senu, which is second, the word for second or number 2, but in this cardinal form, which would be an ordinal number, second. So his second command, and then net of, and then we have Nakhet, or Nachet, which will be strong, but in this case, it would mean victory. So a second victory. So something about the second victory. Anybody else want to chime in? I'll keep going a little bit because I want to go over to the third. I want to go over to the third column.
I would chime in on that word, but I haven't seen the glyph before, right before the eye. So unless anybody else knows it.
Oh, okay. This is one of those funny glyphs. We came across it before. I don't have this memorized as far as what the transliteration is, but I know that this determinative and this together, we came across this before, and this means to like when somebody's sleeping and they wake up. So it's the opposite of being asleep. So we have a nefer, whatever this is. So a good wake, a good wake, a good wake. And then we have in, which is the M, and then we have in life, prosperity, and health. And then we have M, and then we have Ima, which is a place, which is an encampment or a tent or some kind of enclosure. So in the encampment of His Majesty, again, which is upon the southern Chesed, which is this place, and Chesed is mountain. I do know that. So the southern mountain of, we have Ni, which is of, and then Kodesh. So this in the southern mountain, upon the southern mountain of Kodesh. Anybody want to keep going?
And where we at?
We are
Right there.
Okay, in the southern presence of His Okay, in the presence of His Majesty.
Okay.
Appearance, I think.
Mm-hmm. The appearance.
Yeah, the appearance of His Majesty, like Ra.
Mm-hmm. And this last
And weapon would be like rise or shine.
Mm-hmm. So that's where we stop. So remember the verb in these verbal sentences, the verb will come first. So appear, then His Majesty. So, but we would say it in English in reverse. So His Majesty appeared like Ra rising. So Chahemef Mira Webin. So His Majesty appears like Ra rising. Webin. All right. So now, we would go, I would go further, but I don't want to make this too long. I think that's enough, the first three columns, unless you all want to bring up, have any comments about what we went over. I don't want to start, because I think that's a good place to stop. His Majesty appeared like Ra rising, and then stop, because I'm sure that's probably the end of a sentence. Let's just see. We have, now this is Shesep in F, which is to receive. Now this weapon is determined by this sign here at the top. So we have Shesep in F, and then we have Nu, it, which is father of father. Then we have Menchu. This right here is a Netcher. Menchu or Montu. People say Montu. Menchu. So his father Manchu. So yeah, this would begin something else. So I don't want to keep going, further than we'd be figuring out, and then we'll spend more time. So this will be a good point to stop at on this third column here. So let me zoom back out so everybody can see the whole thing. So the first three columns. All right, so I just want to kind of back up a little bit. So remember, I was sent these pictures. Let me go back to the full picture. All right, this is the full picture here. So we did the first three columns. And like I said, this is Freestyle Friday, so we're not using any books. Now, if we would use the books and figure out all the question marks and things that we have, and see, this is the thing, we don't stop here. So even though I'm going off the top of my head with the first column and partially the second column, and likewise everybody on the panel, we wouldn't just stop and then say, hey, we did it, hooray, hooray. No, we would definitely verify and check by utilizing the tools that are available to us. Now, something very important that I definitely want to also stress, that we don't rely on early Egyptological interpretations or dictionary definitions. All right, we're not forced to rely on it. We have tools available to us that are very scientific, that are very precise by way of the historical comparative methods, that we can verify any of these words that are in this language with living African languages. So whenever we're in doubt or we have a question about it or something seems off or whatever the case is, we can always verify it and confirm it by going through that process. All right. And it's a very precise process. It can be meticulous at times, but it's available to us. All right. And it's very scientific, and it's the tools that are available to us. And it's by way of, again, the historical comparative method in linguistics. All right. So in other words, no language exists as an isolation, like it just popped out of the clear blue sky. Languages are parts of language families, and language families are related languages, hence the word family. So we can compare words in one language to the words in another language that's related. Now, through time and age and through shifts in sounds, they may take a slightly different form in appearance and in sound. But when you map out these sounds in a very consistent basis, then you create what's called sound laws. So, like, for example, and a lot of people may have heard of this, but some people even heard of it and misuse this principle where you have sound shifts. So, for example, one sound in one language may shift to something else, a different phoneme or different pronunciation in a related language. But if it happens consistently, then we can say that there's enough consistency with it where it becomes a sound law. And once you map out those sound laws, then you can determine that the change in form, but the meanings are usually pretty much intact. Sometimes they'll be a little bit slightly different, and they'll create this what's called a semantic field, or this kind of range of semantic meaning. But you'll see that even the meanings, although they're slightly different, they'll still have that common theme in their meanings. Okay, so these are the kinds of things that we deal with. These are the kinds of tools that we are able to use. So we don't have to rely on these dictionaries, because some of the comments that people will make by those who don't study the language, they will say things like, or ask the question. Some people are sincere and some people are not, but they'll ask the question, they'll make the claim that we rely on non-African interpretations for African phenomena, and that's just completely false. So I want to make that clear. All right, crystal clear, hopefully. All right, so anybody have anything else to say? Let me look at the chat and see what's going on in the chat. I guess people are looking in the books now, huh? So we got, let me back up a little bit. So we have Brother Sean, who's on the 5th row or 5th column. All right, yeah, we got people ahead. No, sir, me, Ra, like Ra. Dua'u, Webet, Webin. Let's do it's a place, inmate dua pool with a lotus flower. Is it moreover, therefore, right? Brother Christopher Withers, right? It's set is during when, moreover, therefore when, is to introduce, they call it a particle to introduce a sentence. And let's see. Okay, I mean, that's it. So anybody on the panel have some comments? Comments?
No, I was just I wanted to ask. I think you mentioned him before, but might not have heard. Where was this taken from, the facsimile?
Oh, this is from well, when all I was told that it is an inscription that involved Ramses, and that's it. And it's from the Temple of Ramses,
All right.
one of the temples of Ramses in Thebes, and that's it. And that's the only reason why I say, you know, I kind of took it as like a challenge from the person that sent it, because it was hardly any information given. I just wanted to make sure that it's not one of those novelty things, because a lot of times you'll see these novelty pictures floating around that aren't any inscriptions whatsoever, but they just have glyphs on them, random glyphs. And so we'll be sitting here trying to transliterate and translate random glyphs when there's no message whatsoever. And sometimes I've seen people in the past that will pass those things around and ask for it to be translated, knowing that it doesn't mean anything, just to see what you'll say, you know, so things like that. So, you know, some people may be trying to trick, but no, this is it. So when I first looked at it, I recognized the entire first column. So
yeah, we can look this up too. I mean, if we look in Kitchen's book, he got a couple of volumes out. We can actually find this, because I was reading those books, and they speak a lot about the Battle of Kadesh, actually. So if we wanted to find the primaries, we can definitely look those up.
Yep. And just for the record, we prefer to deal with facsimiles of you know, pictures of actual items. You know, this is the exception, because this is an authentic transcription of an inscription that's on the temple wall of one of Ramses' temples in Thebes or Karnak. And that's all I was given. And by looking at it, you can tell that it's the horse and chariot. When you see horse and chariot, you see Ramses involved. So it's definitely one of the stories about either conquering or battles or whatever. And we see the word Kadesh that we went over in the third column, Kadesh. So most likely this is dealing with the Battle of Kadesh. And like you said, Satep, we could look this up. But hopefully that was satisfied. You know, I don't know, anybody in the chat, you know, I know it's a delay, but I'll be looking at the chat if anybody have any comments. But we've been on for quite a while. Don't want to go too long. We may, I guess, how much room do we have in here? Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. June, you're in twice. So we have 5. We have room for four more people. So if you all want to open it up and we can have a little discussion for a while, maybe, you know, another 15 minutes before we close out. And let me do this here. All right, so for those of you who are on the chat, I'm going to put the link in so you can come into the Hangout itself. If you have any comments, questions, and things, pop on in, because we'll stay for another 15 minutes, and I'm probably speaking for the whole group. Hopefully everybody agrees with that as far as staying for.
Yeah.
So yeah, click on the link. Now I'm gonna say we have a habit. Just gonna let you know. But let me put the disclaimer out there. If you popping into the Hangout, you are definitely fair game for being put on the spot. Just want to kind of put that disclaimer out there. Hope that didn't scare anybody. But I posted the link, and go ahead and click, and we'll see you in here. But okay, so in the meantime, anybody on the panel, what's going on? What's going on for the week? Today is Friday, Freestyle Friday. Sleep is for the week, and you know, throughout the week, we on for Freestyle Friday. Some of the things that we talk about, we like to review what we've seen in relation to Kemet or the language and the culture. You know, what's been going on social media about it.
You're
We
quiet.
had some. I don't know how much time we're gonna stay on, but we did have some leftover questions from our Wednesday show.
Oh, that's true. Let me pull that up. I was trying to leave this picture on here, but I guess we can take it off right now.
Oh yeah. Let's see if someone joins in. Where you at, Sean? Where you at, Aziz? Push the link.
I think I don't know. I hope I intimidate people. I said a fair game to be put on the spot, but no, it's all in fun. Like I said, our goal. Remember, our goal is to educate everyone and to learn ourselves. We're still in the process of learning. Information is pretty much, we look at it, information is infinite. We can use fine tuning, and we learn. We pass on what we know, what we don't know. We say we don't know, and then we go look it up. We hope people that will walk with us and investigate with us to find out different. But now remember this too, because this is something that has to. Hotep Sean, but you got to mute you. Okay, yeah, I'm hearing the echo, by the way. But this is something that's also important to know, and people need to really, really understand this, that even if you learn the language and the writing system, you learn the writing system and you learn the language, and you get good at the writing system, you learn the language. We have to understand that Africans in general made heavy use of figurative language, figurative expressions. And by figurative expressions, we have different kinds, different types. Made heavy use of figurative. All right, brother Aziz, I'm hearing the echo also. Yeah, when you come into the Hangout, you're gonna have to push mute on. You have to mute your YouTube, because if you're watching the YouTube and you come in the Hangout, then it's a slight delay. It's gonna sound like an echo. But what I was saying was, we have to realize that there was heavy use of figurative language. So the most popular figurative language a lot of people are familiar with are metaphors, allegories, symbolisms, hyperboles, and then narratives that we call myths. So that was used heavily because of the nature of document recording, to document information, to pass it on, to pass it from one person to the next, or one generation to the next generation. They relied on heavily on those methods. Whereas today, we have other ways of accomplishing the same thing. So we don't rely on it as much, even though we still use it today. And a lot of times we use it today for commercial reasons, or, for some kind of other reasons other than to transmit information, to keep it held in the memory of the people. So I say that to say, once you learn the language and learn the writing system, then there's also an entire process of trying to pierce through the metaphors and the allegories to get to the realities behind those things. So remember, a symbol is a stand-in for a reality. That's why it's called a symbol. So it is a symbol of something. So what we would like to do is get to that something that the symbol is standing in for. So likewise, when it comes to information and the transmission of information by way of language, we're dealing with the symbol. So we're dealing with the middleman, and we want to bypass the middleman to get to the reality behind it. So that's a whole additional level of study, learning, and applying investigation, rigor, and all of these different scientific methods that we can come up with and use to do that. So it doesn't just stop here. So I just want to make it clear that, although we do what we do, there's still a lot more to be done, and so there's a lot of work to be done. So this is how come sometimes, I look at these claims that people make who don't study the language, not even interested in studying the language, don't even care about the ancient cultures, because they presume that because it's ancient, that it's not useful today. It doesn't put food on their table, money in their pockets today, that people are kind of dismissive with it. Those same people will make comments about the language that's really from an uninformed position. And like, there's a lot of work to be done. So a lot of times you know, you won't see us as a group, as a Sesh Medew Netcher group, or even individuals. We will address a few things that, you know, are important, that can become teaching points, but then a lot of things we have to ignore because they become just distractions, because there's a whole lot of work to be done, as I said, you know. So right now, the biggest topic that's blown up recently in the social community is whether or not Sesh Medew Netcher has been deciphered. So because that's gained so much momentum, then that's something that, you know, can become a teaching tool to let everyone know how, when, why, how do we know, how can we confirm, how can we verify if it's been deciphered or not, you know, so things like that. But a lot of these smaller claims and things, sometimes you'll see us, you know, we got to ignore some of them. They get pretty silly, you know. But anyway, I want to say Itim Hotep to Brother Aziz and Brother Sean and Sonette Lisa for popping in. You all are brave ones, because, you know, we tend to put people on the spot. So let me just go ahead and pull up this entire temple wall inscription. I want to have all three of you all read about 6 lines apiece. No,
Put it back up.
no, I'm just messing around, just playing. But yeah, so, you know, welcome to the hangout. And if you have any comments or questions or whatever, just go ahead, feel free to unmute yourself and you got the floor.
Yeah, ETM Hotep.
All right, now you can't come in here and be all quiet now, you know. Don't do that to us.
Hotep, fam. Appreciate y'all having me.
All right, Hotep.
Hotep.
Hotep. Oh, somebody just left out. Who's that? Oh.
Satep. Yeah, Satep.
And Brother Aziz, I'm not sure if your mic is working, but I could see what you're typing. But ETM Hotep.
ETM Hotep, can y'all hear me?
To you, yes, we can.
Hotep.
All right. Well, you know, we're gonna spend another 10 minutes. I mean, you know, if anybody has any comments, you all popping into the hangout, so we kind of give you the floor, because sometimes we don't open up. We in and out, you know. So this time we sit back for another 10 minutes.
I don't know. I was just saying how I had a convo today, and somebody's response to me was all public information has been whitewashed, so therefore y'all don't know the Medew Netcher. And I'm like, that's got to be the most defeatist, confused, like, way of thinking I've ever like encountered. Well, maybe not ever, because I encounter some pretty dumb stuff sometimes, but.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
I see what you mean, and some things you just have to, I don't know, you just have to like bypass, you know.
Yeah. See, like you call it defeatist, and that's true. I'll add to that. I'll raise you laziness.
Flat out.
That's because anybody that say that, you can tell that they haven't taken the time to study it, to study the language. It's one of those umbrella sayings, like one of those pre-programmed, pre-packaged sayings or responses that you can give just to cover up the fact that a person that says it never took time out to study it, not out anything. So they just say, hey, it was whitewashed, therefore you don't know. Because what it does, it releases them from the burden of knowing. You know, you get into this hear no evil, see no evil type of thing, where as long as I didn't see it, then I'm not responsible for it. So that's the similar kind of thing. It's like, okay, well, if it's whitewashed, then I'm not responsible for knowing it. You know, so let me use that as an excuse. And we really have to get out of that. So we got to figure that out. We got to figure out how to make people feel comfortable enough to where they don't have to make up those excuses. And then we have to provide the information to where they're not as intimidated and fearful of it. Because I see it as being fearful of the European, like, for, you know,
Yes.
to put in their terms, because they'll say, because I've had someone say this to me 2 days ago. They said that they picked up a book that was written by an African American author or somebody of African descent. And they said when they flipped through it and they saw the Gardner codes, they immediately put it down and they didn't buy it. And they didn't buy it. And my response to that was, I mean, I didn't say it, but in my mind, my first thought was, why are you scared? You know, it's like you're scared because you associate Gardner codes with Gardner, Alan H. Gardner, who is of European descent. And because of that, now you're going to put something down. That just shows that you're scared. Like, why are you scared? What, you know, without understanding what are the Gardner codes in the first place? Because the same person that put that down and ran from it, in my mind, I'm like, well, in order for you to run from that book based on it being a European descent, you know, whatever information in there, you're actually running away from it, utilizing European created sneakers. Like you're actually running and wearing European stuff. So I'm like, so what, are you going to run away from your own, whatever? You know, I'm just saying, just to see how ridiculous, to show how ridiculous it is. And so, you know, I didn't really have too much of a longer conversation than that, because that's what I'm saying. Those are the kinds of things that become distractions. You know, people don't take time out to study. So I try to explain what the Gardner codes are to the person. The fact that the Gardner codes, you know, the Gardner codes are simply categorizations, categories of these signs. No different than how everybody who has a computer does files on their computer. When you put files inside of file folders on your hard drive, you're doing the same thing. So let's say if you have a file folder called business expenses, then that means that everything in that file folder is going to be related to business expenses. So all your spreadsheets and your expenditures, your all that kind of stuff will go inside that folder. So likewise, what Alan H. Gardner did was he took all of the signs that are related to each other. For instance, he took all of the birds and put them in a file folder called the letter G. He put all of the vegetation signs that deal with vegetation, plants, trees, and all that stuff. He put all that together under a file folder called M, the letter M. That's it. So for somebody to be scared of that is very ridiculous. And I try to say enough to let them know that it's ridiculous. Because sometimes people don't know it, you know, so I give it benefit of consideration and I explain those things. But then if it doesn't click, then it simply just becomes a distraction. That's when I have to kind of walk away from the conversation a little bit.
I think the Seshew group, like, I be having to hold myself back from, like, I don't know, trying to say too much, you know what I mean? Because even myself, I don't feel as comfortable as I feel like I should with the language to try to go out there and, like, you know, talk about it too much or whatever. I talk in the group, but not so much outside. But I think that the Seshew group and I think the Seshew group does a good job for really demonstrating not how easy, but how attainable it is to get an understanding in this language and actually, you know, get an understanding. I don't know how else to put it.
But that's one of the things that we push, because like our stance is, you know, if we can do it, then, you know, anybody can do it. It's not intimidating. You know, we kind of got to go like you know, I give the example all the time. If anybody knows it has any Chinese associates or Chinese speaking friends, and if you ever go to their house or whatever, and they have actual Chinese reading material, and you're looking at the Chinese script, I forgot the name of their script, but if you look at it, you know, you're going to be intimidated by it because you're just looking at these strokes and it makes no sense to you whatsoever. But people look at our language like that, coming the other way. Foreigners coming to English for the first time, trying to read it and learn the rules of grammar, syntax, and all the exceptions to the rules. Like we spell shoe with a SH, and then we spell sugar with just an H. I mean, with just an S. But they both make the same sound. We got to explain that to people. We got to explain how we spell telephone with a PH, but it has an F sound, and we have a letter F, you know, in our alphabet. You know, those things become intimidating and real hard as well. So we got to kind of remember that and realize that it's attainable, like you said, to use your word. It's attainable. It all it takes is just time. Just put some time into it and study it. It's something that we all can do. We can learn every single language. There's not like an impossible language. Even the sounds that we're not used to in our speech in English, like Arabic has a different phonology than English. They have that the guttural sounds, the uvular, those la.
To clear your throat sounds.
Yeah, exactly. You got clear your throat, and you got allergies and sinus problems type of sounds. But it takes time, but we can learn it. We can learn it. There's people who can't roll their R's for Spanish, but then with enough practice, then they can start rolling their R's. They call it trilling. If you trill, brr.
Yeah, I used to tutor French, and you know, French has some sounds that just don't exist in English, period. Some people really have like a really hard time like getting to those U sounds or the R sounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's just time.
Now
But I like the approach that y'all have with the debate, and that y'all not debating Sarah Pseudo Seti and company, but y'all taking that opportunity to educate the people.
yeah, and that's really what we have to do, because it's a lot of work to be done, and really we're fighting ignorance. We're not fighting people. You know, we're not challenging individuals. We're just challenging the ignorance and combating the ignorance to eliminate it and give people information, because a lot of people don't even know what's useful or not, but they want to ask is how can learning Sesh Medew Netcher be helpful to us today? You know, they want to fast forward and just ask that question, but they don't even know what's useful without examining it, without learning the language to be able to read, to see what the ancestors say. And sometimes it could become contradictory or an oxymoron, where you have the same person that will say, hey, let the ancestors speak. It's all about the ancestors. Let's venerate the ancestors. But then the moment you say, well, let's listen to them. Let's learn the language so we can listen to the ancestors. Then all of a sudden, nope, you can't do that. It's not deciphered. You know, then it becomes a contradiction or oxymoron right there. And we have to eliminate that. We have to stop playing these games and just get busy. We have to become more scientifically literate. Look at other countries. Look at, you know, we can take clues, like for language purposes, in terms of resurrecting speech communities. We can look to the Jewish state. Ever since 1947, 1948, when state of Israel was given to the Jews, they went on a national campaign to revive their language, you know, and rebuild that language to whereas today they have 3 or 4 generations deep into first mother tongue speakers of Hebrew, modern Hebrew.
Wow.
You know, we can look at that's in terms of language. Now, in terms of a state, in terms of economics, growth and development and everything like that, we could turn to Japan. Japan had 2 bombs dropped on them not too long ago that wiped things out. They even still having problems, you know, health-wise, even over there, or whatever the case is, through the radiation and things. But look at them. Japan is an economic giant. They're producing a lot of electronics and things that we're using, and so on and so forth.
To chime in on what you're saying and just kind of underline the point, if I can, Senegal, for instance, is just now about to have, they're just now getting ready to write their official history.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's supposed to happen next year.
Well, that would be good, as long as, and that's the thing, and that's what Afrocentricity is all about, proper. And you have people out here who will mislabel or what do you call it, mischaracterize what Afrocentricity is, and then demonize it, but not understanding that Afrocentricity, the goal and aim, if anyone were to read Dr. Asante's work, is to put Africans back in as agents and no longer on the periphery or the outskirts, or around in the marginalized Africans, but no, put them in the center and make them agents of their own experiences and of their own phenomenon. And that's exactly what, you know, you're describing. So anytime an African community writes their own stories their own way based on their own views, then that's the way to go. You're an instant agent of your own experiences. And so what happens is when that takes place after an era of time of slave holocaust, anybody who attempts to do that, of course, they're going to be demonized. And we ourselves, we don't even realize that by saying those kinds of things, you're agreeing with the status quo, so to speak, you know, pushing away, you know, and I see it in scholarship all the time, but it happens socially. It happens in all different areas of life, but you see it big time in the scholarly world, especially with Shekinah Diop, Dr. Theophilo Benga, and other African scholars, where so quote unquote mainstream scholars will be very dismissive of their work. Now they can't disprove it and they don't address it, but they'll just dismiss it as a sweeping thing, just to kind of buy time, just to kind of deter other people from grabbing on to it. And this is the fight that we face. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand that. And this is what ASCAC is all about. Dr. Jacob Carruthers, Asa Hillard. You have the entire African school, or they call it Geopian school of, I guess you would say, all the different multidisciplinary fields of science. You have linguistics, the African School of Linguistics, the African School of Egyptology, the African School of Anthropology. All of these different things coming out of that push by Shekinah Diop. You know, so he's held in high regard around these parts. So anybody that's speaking against that, they're speaking against an entire movement.
Right. I saw somebody post up something the other day in one of the groups, as there's like no what do you say? There's no African philosophy, and something else is I'm forgetting right now. Now that I'm talking about it, but people are just lost and full of hate for real.
See, I always reverse the question back because see, in my experiences, because I try to be very, very observant and objective. I just observe things and just watch. And in my experiences, people that say that and say similar things, they're the same people who just don't, one, they don't know what they're talking about because they don't look at, like, for example, they say there's no such thing as African philosophy. Then I always ask them, if somebody would tell me that, I would ask and say, okay, have you read any books by African scholars that speak about African philosophy first? And every single time it's no. Just like people who will demonize Afrocentricity. The first questions I asked, I said, well, have you read Dr. Asante's works on Afrocentricity? Because the more scholastic definition and connotation of Afrocentricity is birthed by him. Now, he didn't coin the word, he didn't create the word and make up the word, but Afrocentricity as a theoretical model, as a paradigm, and so on and so forth, is his brainchild. So I ask people, have you read it? And the same people say no. Then I'm saying, my next thing is, well, if you haven't read it, then why are you speaking on it? You know, and same thing with African philosophy. Dr. Theophilo Benga has an excellent book called African Philosophy, you know, written in 2004. It's over 600 pages long, and it is an excellent, excellent book. And anybody that wants to dog African philosophy or say that there's no such thing as African philosophy, they first have to read that. Then they can have a conversation about it. Because otherwise,
my bad.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you think linguistics and like comparing words or something, Theophilo Benga in that book compares whole thought systems.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So
it's like, how could you ever even utter out of your mouth that there's no African philosophy?
Yeah, and then it gets really silly because then people say, well, there's no. Philosophy is a Greek word. It's from two Greek words, you know, phila or philo, meaning love, and then Sophie, wisdom, the love of wisdom. You know, it gets really, really silly with things like, all right, well, fine. You know, Africans didn't even use Africa. So, okay, you know, all the words that we use to try to describe it And then that's where the conversation goes way left field. Instead of digging in and understanding what it is that's being called philosophy today, is definitely very, very, very much African.
Mm-hmm.
And Theophilo Benga proves it times 10, you know, in the book African Thought. Like you said, he compares entire thought systems. He even has a chapter on the word philosophy and how the Greeks, he talks about Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates and everyone. Theophilo Benga has done a lot of work with the comparison of Greek philosophy with Nile Valley science. That's called philosophy as well. So, you know what I mean? So it's we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. You have people here, man.
So
To you, but
I have a problem with people disrespecting all the work that everybody has put forth to try to restore the language and to help bring the culture full circle. I agree with everybody's points. We all know that some people are just unlearned. I don't want to even call them ignorant anymore. I guess unlearned seems more fitting and less disrespectful to their intelligence. But I mean, how many times are we just going to try to, are we going to allow people to try to kick the ancestors in the behind with this stupidity?
well, that's
Man, some people are doing it for, different motives. You never know.
Yeah, you're right.
But, it's a balance of that too, because, now it's, more than ever that I can remember, we have a lot of people talking about the Sesh Medew Netcher and the hieroglyphs. And, I'm sure we'll see a rise in people who are really interested into learning the language. So, it is unfortunate, but that's why we try our best to use those type of occasions for teaching tools. Times where we can teach people, and hopefully people would just take notice to the information we do put out.
yeah, exactly. And it's not going to be an overnight thing because we don't find ourselves in this predicament based on an overnight thing either. So to get out of it, it's not going to be overnight. So you know how, if a train is going 100 miles an hour, in order to make it go in one direction, in order to make it go in the other direction, you first have to slow it down. Then you have to make it come to a complete stop, and then you put it in reverse. So likewise, there's a train of events, a chain of events that have taken place that brings us to this point where people are saying the things that they're saying and doing the things that they're doing. So we just got to slow it down first, bring it to a stop. Then we have that pushback. So we just have to get busy and stay busy. Like June, like you said, people doing it for different motives. And I'm gonna tell you, it's very detrimental because we see it. See, people have to really broaden their scopes because it's happening in different areas of life simultaneously. And I always give the example in music, right? You can look at music and see this take place. If you think back, I don't know how old everybody is on the panel, but about every 10 years, music changes. Music goes through a kind of a big shift at every 10 years, or not. I shouldn't say it like that because it's so slow that you don't see it. But if you were to just compare music by the decade, by every 10-year section of music, you'll be able to see the change. So what happens is, like, think back, look at music now, where music equipment is very cheap and it's very plentiful. There's a lot of different companies competing for everybody's pockets, everybody's dollars. So you have a lot of companies that are in competition. So the prices have dropped for a lot of different equipments, microphones, mixers, beat machines, Kai 2000, Kai MPCs, and mixing boards. You had to have the hardware to things. Now everything is, a synth that you can buy as a plugins now. And then we have YouTube Red, we got iTunes Music. So everybody has become a rapper, or potentially can become a rapper and everything. Home studio, all you can do is just get a microphone, put speakers, headphones, and you're good. You're good to go. So now think of that and then compare it, go backwards in time and think of the Motown era of time, where and what those artists and musicians had to do and what they were put through to do what they did. You had brilliant writers, you had brilliant singers, real singers, people who had vocal training. You had people who were taught etiquette. You had people who were taught choreography, people who were taught stage presence, people who were taught fashion, what to wear, how to dress, how to walk, and all these different disciplines and things that were taking place during that era of time. But now we don't have that. We don't have that at all. So in other words, we're dumbing things down. We're making it a lot easier. So instead of raising people up to the level of where the discipline was, we're neglecting the discipline to meet the standards of the streets. Instead of bringing the streets up, we're coming down. You know, that type of behavior is going down to the streets. And I don't like to say up or down, but hopefully people get what I mean. So the same thing is happening in scholarship. Now, college education is being demonized. How is it being demonized? By this blanket statement of, well, that's the white man's institution. That's the white man's science. That's the white man's this and that. So what happens is they're using pushing our emotional button and our remembrance of the slave Holocaust, and even in modern times with all the things that we see because of technology with police brutality and this and that. So they're using our anger to justify this continuance of saying, okay, you know, that's the white man stuff, knowing that it's going to trigger something, be like, okay, nah, I don't want to deal with that because I hate the white man so much, or I hate, you know, European everything. Then nope, college is not for me. A degree is not for me. Why should I get a PhD or whatever? Because, you know, that's their stuff. You know what I'm saying? So now it's being demonized. And then now you got people who are saying, don't read books. I seen a video with his brother saying, don't read books. And his justification for it is because animals didn't do it. Lions didn't read a book. Why should we read a book? Owls didn't read a book. Why should we read a book? That's crazy. That's foolishness. You know, not knowing that science or the scientific method in and of itself comes from Africa. You know, the discipline, the actual methods of education, which we call pedagogy, andragogy, which is child education and adult education, comes out of Africa. You know, so we have to really get past all these things, and we can't drop the bar. We have to raise the bar and keep it up. And that's why people who are so-called catering to the quote unquote babies or the streets, they're really doing us a disservice and more detrimental to us than any form of help whatsoever. You know, you can't enable someone. You can't become an enabler. You know, like, would you be a best friend to someone if you just allow them to or if you just cater to their bad habits? Or would you be a better friend by pulling their coattail and trying to help them improve themselves and don't lower the standards? You know what I'm saying? That would be a true friend. So likewise, a true teacher never diminishes things. You acknowledge where people are at, and you create the skills and know-how to meet them on their level, to raise them up. But you don't dumb down and neglect a whole bunch of things just to stay there, just to make it appealing and easier for that. No, as a coach, you push people. You know what I'm saying? You push people. How you think those Olympic gold medals are won? Those coaches are putting fire up under them all the time, pushing them. That's how we have to be. You know what I mean? So we can't tolerate that, and we have to understand that. And in this, you're not going to be liked. So I, you know, years ago, I made up my mind, you know, I don't do this for a popularity contest. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't even know me. You know, like my face and my name are not attached together out there like that. Some people may be familiar with my name, and then some people may be familiar with my face, but not together. And, you know, you don't see me out there huffing and puffing and things like that. Cause I'm in the back. I'm more comfortable in the back. I have no problem getting in the front, but I'm comfortable in the back because then you don't have to worry about people's, you know, feelings and stuff like that. So we have to get it done. There's a lot of work to get done. You know what I mean? So I don't know what else to say. We gotta do a lot of work. So you know, this up and coming event, I don't call it a debate, because these brothers that are making those claims, they're not qualified to discuss this topic. There's no way that you can tell me that you've been studying something for 30 years and teaching something for 15 years, but yet be illiterate in the language of that which you claim that you're teaching. I would never send my child to a classroom where the teacher was illiterate in a subject that they are a teacher of. That's like a teacher teaching social studies, but the teacher themselves never read a social studies book. I mean, think about that for a second. You have somebody who's been teaching on lecture circuit for 15 years, studying for 30. Now, this is according to their own words, their own admission. Studying for 30, studying under master teachers, and teaching for 15 years, lecturing and everything, but is completely illiterate in the language of the subject matter that they claim to teach. Now, think about that for a second. That is just completely foolish. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
what
good
this
point.
whole thing is, you know. Speaking of that, since everybody's interested in the Sesh Medew Netcher, not all for the right reasons, but we've been doing a few videos. Like we say, we have like 25 videos of Divine Words Wednesdays and so forth, and we do kind of like, and the whole point of having the videos put up was to actually show people that the language has been deciphered. We say that over and over from the very beginning. So I know you guys, most of you guys watching and all that, you're in the chats, you're in different groups, listening to people who have been swayed into thinking that it hasn't been deciphered. When you watch our videos, please do share with the community as well, because the point is that we definitely have to hold the people saying that accountable, but at the end of the day, I guess it is just a sad case that is other people who don't know that there are people who actually studied this and it has been deciphered, who are getting swayed into thinking that it hasn't. So for the sake of those people who might actually be interested, but actually think that it hasn't been deciphered, because there's some people who are held into high esteem in the community who say so, sway them into thinking that it will be good for them to actually know or watch or see other people who are doing that, because I mean we have to have both sides anyway. Right now it's a lot of people who haven't seen other people, especially like Black people, reading or studying the Medew Netcher. So please do share the videos and do let them know about this issue, Medew Netcher. That's all I wanted to say before I forget.
No, that's good. That's a good point. We have to we have to let people know. And the only way people know is if they get exposed to the stuff we're doing. And we're not the only ones doing it. And by far, we're not claiming to be all wise, right, and exact perfection at a perfection. We're in a constant state of learning. And we basically just share what we know. And we share our experiences so people can see us learn and then join in on the learning process, and that's all that we ask.
Yeah, because pretty much, I mean, I guess we are in the process of learning in front of everybody. I mean, you see us do this every week. We actually you see us making mistakes and getting better while we do it. So, I guess that was one of the reasons why we did that, even though we knew, especially with the Freestyle Fridays, we're like, okay, we're gonna, we're putting ourselves on the spot, because we don't know everything, but we need to let people know that, hey, you don't have to pretend that you know everything, because I guess most of the people who are talking about it hasn't been deciphered, that people want to appear perfect in front of their audiences, and when they realize that there's something that they don't know, then they have to make other people not want to know what they in particular don't know. So hey, we put ourselves on the spot every day, and we don't claim to know anything. So we need to let people see that, and just know that as we are learning, they can learn it too.
Yeah, and see, that's a good point, because it's the opposite of cowardice. Because in order to the fact that we have a Freestyle Friday, the fact that we post up a picture from other people and we go totally blind, straight from the dome, straight from our recollection and memory, we're allowing people to see the process take place, because we're not going to know what every single word means. Because I mean, you can post up an English article from a scientific magazine or a journal and see words that you will have to look up. So this is no different, you know. So for us to be able to even do that and be comfortable doing that speaks a lot. It speaks volumes, and you don't even see too many people doing that. Now, we're not the only ones, but I'm saying you don't see too many people that will do a freestyle session. You'll see people talk about the language and they'll give lectures and presentations. We do that as well. We do that on Wednesdays, in fact. But on Fridays, like tonight, we'll go freestyle. And like even a previous hangout I was in, the brother Reggie had brought up a papyrus of a singer of Amen. I forgot the name, Nauni, I believe, or Niuni. The papyrus, so-called Runu Peret Imheru, the Book of the Dead of that particular person. And it was like totally out the blue. And right there on the spot, we were able to read, you know, what was going on inside that papyrus, inside that scene, you know. So that's just to show that it could be done, and it is being done, you know. So, and really what it comes down to, I mean, once all the hype fades away and all the dust settles, it really comes down to the fact that there are two groups of people, maybe three. One group of people that will see a problem and collect the tools and do what it takes to solve it. And then you see a group of people that will see a problem and then find any and every excuse not to do the work to solve it. And they want to just sweep it away. So about this language, Kemet. Notice that Kemet is used in the backdrop of almost every single movement that is exposed to the quote unquote conscious community. I don't care if you call yourself a Moor. I don't care if you call yourself one of the Hebrew Israelite groups, Christian, Jew, or Muslim, and even the sacred societies such as Masonic sororities and things like that. Just about everybody sinks their teeth into Kemet in some form of fashion every time. But when they do it, none of these groups have a history or are known for really digging in to Kemet, to give it its proper respect and proper context. And this is why Kemet to this very day is probably one of the most disrespected traditions in terms of it being commercialized, romanticized, and just kind of used as a costume. You know, the whole idea of Kemet is just costume. You don't see people doing that to Yoruba traditions, the Akan traditions, and then all the other African traditions. You don't see people doing that. So we definitely have a whole lot of work to do, you know. But I just realized how long we've been on here now, almost 12 o'clock our time. So I don't want to cut anybody short. If you have any comments, by all means, go for it. But I'll do want to kind of end the live broadcast. I think now would be a good time to end it, because we pretty much covered. Because actually, if we stayed on this long, then the question, the statement could be like, well, y'all could have done some more of the inscription, you know, which would be true. So we can close out. I don't have anything more to say. You know, I just say again, reiterate that we do have Divine Words Wednesdays and Freestyle Fridays. Join the Seshew mdw-ntr Netcher Facebook group. Share the video links. Share the links in our archives. Get people to subscribe who you feel may be interested or think that they should know. Some people who are sincere, they're asking these questions, not out of foolery or ignorance, but they may, you know, people want to know. People want to know, like, what does this mean? What does that mean? You know, when I heard this term monoliteral, what is that? What is biliteral, triliteral? What is a logogram, phonogram, ideogram, pictogram? What is a grapheme? What is a phoneme? You know, what is allographs? What is homographs? all of these different terms and things that we say and use sometimes. What is Sesh Medew Netcher? What is the difference between Sesh Medew Netcher and Medew Netcher? Is there a difference between Medew Netter versus Medew Netcher versus Sesh Medew Netcher? What is hieratic? What is demotic? What is Sesh Nishat? What is Sesh Medew Netcher? What is Coptic? Is Coptic a Greek language or is Coptic an African language? Does Coptic use Greek writing system? What kind of writing system does it use? Is Coptic Egyptian? Is it still spoken today? So people will have, valid questions and everything. We don't want to judge people's questions, but, you can kind of tell when people are coming with a little bit of foolishness kind of pretty quick. But, we don't want to turn anybody's questions away or anybody away. But that's all I have to say. So if nobody else has anything else to say, then I guess we can close out. And Sonia Tonica, you can close us out if you don't mind.
Let me give a shout out real quick.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Because we were talking about how much work we have to do, and I just think it's really important that people get together and work as teams. So because that's what this Freestyle Friday is about too. I might come across some glyphs I don't know. I ask all my brothers and sisters for help, or I might come across a word I don't know that they might know. We all have certain strengths that we all can pick up for the rest of the group. So I just wanted to say teams win. That's often a saying that I hear a lot from the Dr. Tadeka Kilimanjaro from University of Kemet Press, and I just wanted to give them a shout out. And I hope you guys are supporting their work. They got like 14 books out that are really good and needed, and I'm grateful that they put that work in. So yeah, shout out University of Kemet Press, support them. That's all I had to say. Shemim Hotel.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Definitely.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, let's mention some more. You have the Ka and Ife Kilimanjaro and the brother Yahra Aneb. That's the team over there at University of Kemet Press, and they have I believe a series of 14 or 15 books that are must-haves. All of their books are very, very instructional, practical, and it'll definitely put you straight, especially when it comes to research methodology and things of that nature. You have a brother Sarmotep who has quite a few publications. He has, I think his latest is the Nisud Biti, King in Ancient Egyptian. Before that, he published a book called Where's the Love? And then before that, he has a book that's entitled Aluja. And those are all must-have works. What else? Brother Benjamin Naji, let me get his name correct. Nj. I may be pronouncing it wrong. Forgive me. His wife, Alima, has published a book called The Perceptions of a Misplaced African, Volume 1, a poetry novel. I have it. It's a good book. I haven't finished the entire book, but it's an excellent book, a book of poems. That's a good book to get. What else do we have? That's out there?
Sean has a book on his screen.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Let me Aaron Knows About Africa by Naomi H. Bradley, M.E.D., and Benjamin Njai. Okay, right. Okay, yeah, that's the latest book by him. Yep, that's good. That's a good book to get, support. What else? And then we have books that anything by Dr. Raketi Amen. She has a book, excellent book on the common phrases that we use every day to kind of put us in the mode of starting to speak Rani Kemet, which is ancient Egyptian spoken language, as opposed to Sesh Medew Netcher, which is what people call hieroglyphs. So any of the books that are written by her. We also have Dr. Theophilo Benga. We mentioned that earlier, African philosophy. Jean-Claude Mboli, who is the the game changer in African linguistics, the game changer in for African languages. His book is written in French, so a lot of people may have a hard time with that particular publication, but get it, support it, and learn French. Get your French friends to help you out with the book. Put in the translations. You have a lot of translation software just so you can keep up with the information, because that's a very, very, very powerful book. Because that particular book, he has a book called African Languages, and in that book he actually reconstructs the parent language of a lot of African languages, which is referred to by and coined by Dr. Theophilo Benga, Negro Egyptian language phylum, and he built it from the scratch, from the ground up. All right, and that speaks volumes. It would take too long to kind of explain the importance of that, but that is a game changer there. So you have his work, and I'm trying to think of some that are pretty recent. And also, if you want to learn beginner's level of Medew Netcher, get my book, A Beginner's Introduction to Medew Netcher. Take the course. Courses are offered. They're very easy to follow. 12 weeks, meeting once a week, 2 hours per session for 12 weeks. And by the end of those sessions, you will be able to transliterate and translate these inscriptions that you see us. And then from there, we're going to start teaching grammar. And then from there, we're going to start teaching beginners linguistics. And then from there, we're going to start a whole series, 3 stages of what I mentioned earlier, by seeking and recovering the realities behind the figurative speech, the figurative expressions that are known, that Africans are known to do. And then even after that, it becomes the practical application of this information. So there's a lot to be done. Like I said, there's a lot to be done. And so much so that, we can't be distracted by the silliness, but, those things that we can use as teaching tools, then by all means we will. And that's what we're doing with this decipherment issue. But anyway, that is my last say so, and I will just end with that.
All right. Okay. Anybody else have anything?
I don't know. I'm hearing a buzzing sound with your mic or something. Something is it's not.
All right. Try again. Still there?
No, that's better.
All right. I was just asking if anybody has anything else to add, or should we just close?
Well, since we're on the book, I'll just throw out one more book recommendation. It's from the brother Amin Matra from I think he's in the Masi Warrior clan, but he's put out a few publications, and I came across it trying to keep up with Sin Kofi. His book stack is long, but I'm trying to keep up with him, and I came across it, and it's really the way he puts the information together is kind of I would say in the nicest way possible. I would say it's like simple. He lays it all out for you. Anybody that's I suggest them to people that are just getting into it, because like I said, lays it out for you. So just to add another book recommendation, any of the recent publications by Amin Matra. But that's it.
All right. Okay. Yes. And with that, we will close. And just dua for tuning in, and dua for the guys who joined the panel and added their insight. And again, if you're watching this and you feel there's anything that was not correct, hey, you're always welcome to join our group page and build with us and like I said, we have people there. We have linguists. We have people. We have a lot of teachers. We have students who are also adept in different kind of areas. So there's a lot of teamwork involved, and you get to learn faster that way. So definitely, if you're not in the group, join the group Sesh Medew Netcher. Check out the webpage www.mdw-ntr.com, which is mdw-ntr.com, and check our archive if you haven't watched them already. There's a lot of information there, and yeah, again, dua and Shema Motep.